Okay, so I have two articles for you today, both from The Advocate. And one is a feel good story. Proof that no matter how crappy bigots will bigot, there are ways to get around it and show that you're not going to kowtow to such bigotry. And the second one is a bit more crappy. I don't know if it's bigotry specifically to the LGBT plus community, bigotry towards brown people, or just government incompetence. So, yeah, not sure where to classify that one yet. But anyway, let us start with the feel-good story. Florida City installs Pride bike racks after being forced to remove rainbow crosswalks. So, yes, even though Ron DeSantis and Trump were trying to get rid of the colorful rainbow crosswalks, because heaven forbid we might actually show pride in our cities, and the fact that colorful crosswalks actually reduce accidents. After all that, Florida City, and I love that it's Florida. A Florida City said, "Nah, we'll do it this way," and so they installed colorful bike racks, which actually I like too, because that way people on bikes can see the bike rack from a mile away. So yeah, win-win. But anyway, to the article. After the Trump administration and Republican Governor Ron DeSantis forced Florida cities to remove rainbow crosswalks, one city has responded by installing a rainbow bike rack. The city of St. Petersburg recently announced that it has installed 11 Pride-inspired bike racks along Central Avenue and 25th Street, funded through the city's long-standing public bike rack program. The move allows a public display of LGBTQ plus pride while complying with the state and federal government's orders to keep crosswalks undecorated. It's only a matter of time before this administration decides to remove all color from every aspect of life because it might accidentally look like a pride flag, because apparently the only people who are concerned that the gays have stolen the rainbow are the homophobes. So, yeah. Pride on the streets. Mayor Ken Welch wrote in a joint Instagram post with the city's official account on Thursday, calling the new installment a vibrant way to honor the Pride Street murals that were removed earlier this year due to state requirements. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy ordered states to eliminate rainbow crosswalks and other distractions in July in a supposed effort to prevent traffic fatalities. He did not provide evidence linking decorated crosswalks to traffic fatalities, but acknowledged that estimated traffic fatalities declined by 3.8% from 2023 to 2024 under the Biden administration. The traffic fatalities went down, but it had nothing to do with the bright crosswalks that people can see? I wonder what else it could have been. Florida complied with the order in August by quietly painting over a memorial for the Pulse shooting victims in Orlando. DeSantis defended this decision, saying the artwork is not compliant with state and federal standards. The State Department of Transportation then ordered cities to remove all rainbow crosswalks, as well as more than 400 other roadway decorations. It's to the point where the bigots hate pride so much that they are going to get rid of anything fun just so people can't cry that they're being discriminatory. Let's just get rid of anything and everything that's fun because it might show that we're just bigots. I appreciate the initiative to go out of your way to not be discriminatory, or at least seem discriminatory, but dude, there is no evidence that rainbow crosswalks cause more accidents. To the contrary, increased visibility from decorated crosswalks led to a 37% drop in collisions, resulting in injuries, a 50% reduction in incidents involving pedestrians, and a 17% fall in the total crash rate, according to a 2022 study from Bloomberg. Not to mention, we can actually see this in real time in Europe. Because if you look in a lot of European cities, they also have decorated crosswalks. Whether it was meant to mark pride or they just made colorful crosswalks, because, some are one solid color. It's not like they're multicolored. But, they know that if it's visible, just like, if pedestrians are walking on the side of the street, still a good idea to make sure you can be seen so you don't get hit. Even if you don't intend to walk into the street, cars might end up having to swerve for whatever reason. So it would be nice if they could see that people are standing there. Same freaking concept. Welsh's Chief of Staff, Jordan Doyle Walsh, told St. Petersburg City Council members in an email obtained by Florida Politics that the bike rack installation is only one of the actions Welch's administration has planned in response to the removal of public art. Ooh, I can't wait to find out what other actions this entails. This will be fun. We intend that this small gesture of inclusion and celebration will be a symbol of our resolve to not be silenced, Walsh wrote. We thank City Council for supporting and collaborating on this effort, and we look forward to working with you and the community as we move forward together. Okay, so that is the end of that article. All right, so now the far less cool story. Lesbian federal worker pleads for answers about wife trapped in immigration detention limbo. Gracie Chioske works for the federal government. She believes in systems. She believes in procedure. She believes that if you follow the rules carefully enough, the rules will eventually work. What Chioske did not expect was that following the rules could still leave her wife locked inside an immigration detention center across the country for months, not because an immigration judge ordered her removal, not because a petition was denied, but because no one in the federal government would take responsibility for deciding her case. So, that's awesome. I know that there are steps that you need to follow, she told the advocate, but my greatest frustration is that we followed all these steps, and I feel like we did a little bit over and beyond those steps. Chioske, 29, lives in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and works at the Social Security Administration, where she's been for going on 4 years. Her wife, Xiomara Suarez, 28, is a Peruvian national in the country legally. And I want to stress that for the bigots who try to claim that the only people who are in danger of being deported are illegals. She's in the country legally, who is currently detained at the Adelanto Immigration and Customs Enforcement Processing Center in Southern California. The two women married in February and filed in May to adjust Suarez's immigration status, a process that U.S. immigration law explicitly provides for spouses of U.S. citizens. She had an ICE appointment, like a regular check-in, in September, Chioske said, and that's when she got detained. At the time, Suarez had no criminal record, no deportation order, and a pending marriage-based application for lawful permanent residency. I will repeat again for the xenophobes who think that she somehow deserves this. At the time, Suarez had no criminal record, no deportation order, and a pending marriage-based application for lawful permanent residency. According to Chioske, ICE officials acknowledged the paperwork but told her wife that detention was simply part of the process and that she would need to see an immigration judge. I never heard about that, Chioske said. You know, if you have a green card, that's USCIS. You don't have to see an immigration judge. USCIS is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. That confusion would be the defining feature of the months that followed. Now, you know, if this was any other administration, I would say that this is just, a bureaucratic fuck up. But considering who the president is and what he's been doing, what Stephen Miller in particular has been doing about getting immigrants out of the country, whether they're here legally or not, I'm not so sure that this was an honest mistake. A process spelled out on paper. Unlike federal immigration law, spouses of U.S. citizens are classified as immediate relatives, a category not subject to annual visa caps. USCIS's guidance states that immediate relatives who were inspected and admitted or inspected and paroled into the United States may apply for a green card without leaving the country through adjustment of status. The process is straightforward on paper. A U.S. citizen files Form I-130 to establish the validity of the marriage. The non-citizen spouse files Form I-485 to adjust status. Immediate relatives may file those forms together or while the I-130 is pending. Visas have historically always been available in this category. USCIS's own instructions for Form I-485 specify that the application is intended for people already in the United States who are lawfully inspected and admitted or paroled, exactly Suarez's situation. Detention is not listed as a bar to filing or adjudication. Suarez entered the United States lawfully under humanitarian parole in December 2022. In a sworn declaration supporting her asylum claim, which the advocate reviewed, she described fleeing Peru after months of stalking and a violent sexual assault motivated by her sexual orientation, followed by repeated refusals by police to accept her complaints or offer protection. Yeah, I'm gonna say that they're just as bigoted as the people who attacked her, so of course they're not going to help her. None of that, Chisoke said, was cited as the basis for her detention. Chiosuke said the notice to appear initially alleged that Suarez had entered the United States illegally, an allegation she said was false and later withdrawn. So, yeah, this isn't an honest mistake. This is what happens when you place incompetent people in positions of power. They show that they're incompetent. They lied, Chiosuke said. That's also a possibility. They said that she entered here illegally and she has a parole. You know, I was being generous about, the people in the administration being incompetent. But, Stephen Miller has a quota that he wants ICE to keep. So, let's go after anyone who's brown. Even after that allegation was dropped, Suarez remained in custody. She doesn't have anything, Chiosuke said. They dropped that charge. They dropped that NTA, notice to appear. They're just keeping her because she's out of status. But she can't get status because she can't do her process. Wow, talk about a catch-22. The bureaucratic stalemate reached its most surreal point on December 3rd. That morning, Suarez was scheduled to appear at 7:45 a.m. for a USCIS interview at the Los Angeles field office. It was the required interview tied to the spousal petition. Later the same day, she was also scheduled to appear in immigration court. At 7:45 in the morning, she had a UCIS appointment for the I-130, Chiosuke said, and then the hearing was at 1 p.m. Chiosuke flew from Pennsylvania to California to attend the USCIS appointment. At the field office, she said, she spoke directly with a supervisor. Okay, there is no USCIS office on the East Coast. Forget Pennsylvania, nothing on the East Coast. She has to fly to California. Okay then. The supervisor guaranteed me that USCIS does not have jurisdiction because she's detained, Chiosuke said. The immigration judge would have to educate on both. But when Suarez appeared before the immigration judge later that day, Chiosuke said the explanation flipped. The judge said, "No, I don't have jurisdiction on the I-130. There's nothing I can do," she said. "If USCIS does not want to give you an interview, contact your congressman." The federal government had scheduled 2 proceedings that canceled each other out, then refused to reconcile them. USCIS says it's not them because she's detained, and the judge says it's not them, it's USCIS, Chiosuke said. Suarez remains detained at Adelanto. Her next immigration court hearing is scheduled for January 28th. Chiosuke fears it will change nothing. That doesn't mean anything, she said, because what if January 28th and we don't have the I-130 approved because nobody decided who has jurisdiction? The toll has been steep. We thought, it's going to be a week, it's going to be a month, Chiosuke said, and we're going for 3 months. She said that although the ordeal was in its 3rd month, it feels we're still on the start line, she added. I don't understand how that's possible. Are you, at all familiar with this administration? Chiosuke said she has spent thousands of dollars on emergency travel and last-minute flights, and that money has been short, particularly during the recent 6-week government shutdown when federal employees like her were not paid. I didn't have to take a last-minute flight, she said. That cost me so much money, and nothing got resolved. The couple speaks daily by phone, but has not seen each other in person in months. Last time I saw her was in October, Chiosuke said. Inside Adelanto, Suarez has described conditions that are degrading and isolating. There's mold in the food, Chioske said. You don't have any privacy. Yep, that's par for the course with this regime. She was put into shackles, she added. She told me that crying because it really made her feel like she did something that was wrong, and she didn't. Alvaro M. Huerta, Director of Litigation Advocacy at the Immigration Defenders Law Center, said cases like Suarez reflects a broader pattern. This administration is separating and trapping families like Xiomara and Grazelli in a Kafkaesque nightmare, with the clear intention of making life so unbearable that they abandon all hope, Huerta said. It's not only a policy failure, but also a betrayal of LGBTQ immigrant families who deserve dignity, safety, and the chance to thrive. I'm going to say it's not just LGBTQ families that this is being done to. Huerta said the consequences extend beyond individual cases. It is un-American, and it exposes how Stephen Miller and Donald Trump are dismantling any semblance of due process in the immigration system, eroding the rule of law, and shattering public faith in our government institutions, he said. It is deliberate and systemic cruelty, and tragically, immigrant and mixed-status families will continue to bear the burden of this government-orchestrated trauma. Chioske has contacted U.S. Senator John Fetterman's office in Pennsylvania and U.S. Representative Laura Friedman's office in California. She represents his district where Suarez is detained. Both offices have opened inquiries, Chioske said, but neither has been able to force a resolution or even secure clarity on which agency is responsible for adjudicating the spousal petition. A spokesperson for Friedman told the Advocate that they declined to comment on the case. We do not comment on individual constituent service requests, the spokesperson said. When constituents ask for help, our office fights to get them the answers and actions they deserve from the relevant federal agencies. In a separate statement, Friedman criticized the broader immigration enforcement approach under Trump. Rather than focusing on serious criminals, Trump is targeting hardworking members of our communities who have lived here for years and are seeking a better life for their families, Friedman told the Advocate in a statement. Trump's policies are cruel and deeply wrong, which is why I'm leading the No Masks for ICE Act to bring accountability and transparency back to our communities. Simultaneously, I'll keep fighting for common sense immigration reform to ensure that those who deserve to be in our nation have a real path towards that goal. And that's the thing I do not understand. This is the same party that lost their flippin' minds during COVID about how nobody can breathe with masks on because, surgeons don't wear masks or anything. And now they're like, rah, rah, ICE is wearing masks. Like the fucking Ku Klux Klan who had to hide their faces. Granted, it was to protect their and their family's safety. That is true, but that's because they were doing something bad. Not because they were doing something that was actually helpful. Anyway, the Advocate also contacted Fetterman's office, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and Immigration Customs Enforcement for comment. None responded. Yeah, Fetterman's having all sorts of issues, so good luck with that one. For Chioske, the most painful part is not just the waiting, but the inversion of responsibility. She followed the rules. She trusted the system. She works for it. For a federal employee who believes in systems, that may be the most unsettling lesson of all. All we're asking for is to approve the green card, she said. We didn't really do anything besides follow what was asked. It feels like we're begging for something that it's our right. And that seems to be the problem with a lot of this, quota based immigration enforcement, because it's a combination of incompetence and racism and bigotry, but I'm pretty sure it's more that she's brown than the fact that she's a lesbian. This idea that Stephen Miller has decided that this is a nation for white people. So he wants to get rid of any non-white. He wants to get rid of immigrants, whether they're here legally or not, especially if they're non-white. So, and let's face it, Trump said the quiet part out loud. He did say, why can't we get people from Norway instead of shithole countries like Somalia? I mean, it doesn't take a genius to realize that he's a fucking racist. Because what is the difference between Somalia and Norway? It's not that Somalia is well, I don't know if they still have government issues, that there's a war going on in Somalia. Actually, last I heard, they're doing quite well for themselves. What's the difference? Norway is white and Somalia is not. And let's face it, there are a lot of Norwegians who think that we're the shithole country. So why would they come here? So yeah, there is that. So I do hope that they resolve this. At this point, I do not care who steps in, just freaking resolve it. Because it's just unconscionable that this is happening to people who are doing the right thing. A lot of people scream from the rooftops, well, if they just came here legally, if they just followed the rules of the country. Well, these people have been doing that. So, what's your response now? I'm pretty sure that the response is going to be to continue to deny reality. Because the people who voted for this regime can't accept that they might have just shown their racism. They desperately have to hide the fact that they are horrible people. They cannot accept that they are bad people, so they have to come up with some sort of lie to make them feel better. So, anyway, with that, I believe I've covered everything I wanted to in this video. So I will see you guys in the next one.